I'm ready.
Okay.
So what I'm thinking in terms of the talking about the quality of the microphones, I think when it's an option, we'll use these bad boys.
Yeah, I think eventually it would be good to get a good setup at a later point.
Well, I think like when it's an option, we use the best quality we can, like now.
Yeah.
But I think the goal has to be just do one a week. So it's like guerrilla tactics. So if we haven't done one in the week, we're going to meet someone. we'll bring, like, if we're going to someone else's house, we'll just stick one of these like the Olympus recorder in the pocket, or even if it's just use your phone with that podcast app. It's that content trumps quality, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think that'd be the best thing to do.
No, I think just get the ball rolling. I think overthinking, like we just came and just like, right, let's just get this going now.
Yeah, but I want to avoid perfectionism.
Yeah, keep it raw.
In all areas of my life.
Keep it
because that's
raw.
when you end up missing weeks because you go, I haven't got the right mics with me, or
can we rearrange that? I can't get access to this.
Yeah, just get it done. But yeah. So what were we talking about earlier with learning new things, doing things once a week?
Yeah, you came in and I was polishing one of the gun stocks.
Yeah,
yeah,
you were rubbing it down with oil.
Yeah, but I think just about getting stagnant. Really, I think even no matter what kind of not the pace you're doing it, but even when you're making progression, it's slow climbing. Like everything's been going so good so far. So doing the website was a big step forward. Because I've been running this company for the last 2 years, and it's just been going steady and steady. But you kind of lose that, not motivation, but there's excitement.
Yeah, I know what you mean. But I think because I had that feeling like you want to. Got to stop saying like. That feeling if you want to improve at your business, or you want to do improve at a specific goal, so you think, I'll just be single-minded and just do that. But maybe there is some merit in learning seemingly unrelated things, but in doing so, there's the lessons you learn doing those. Is actually transfer over, and it sort of refreshes your mind to if you're getting a bit stale, then you can sort of attack it with new vigor, if you like.
Yeah, I think people do that all the time, especially when it comes to like for instance, you've taken on saxophone, which is amazing.
Yeah.
And I think it's one of those things that like people think, I'm not going to start anything because I know it's not going to be my big hobby, so they're afraid to start something new because they're like, well, I can't commit to that, or my timing is too, I'm quite busy right now, and there's always an excuse making. But then at the end of the day, when you're lying in bed, you're like, what have I done with myself? And I think it's that if you take that step forward.
Yeah, well, a few different things happened. Yeah, well, I started doing the yoga once a week just because I've sort of always sort of fancied doing it, and then I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would, doing the hot yoga. And I was improving at it, just doing it once a week, because it's sort of my tendency to, I'll do something, I'll be completely obsessed, and I'll go, I'll do it 2 times a day, and whatever. And I was like, no, just chill out, just go once a week. But I got a lot of benefit out of it, and I was improving. So then that sparked on more things. I said to myself, okay, that's interesting. I want to test that hypothesis. Can you get better at things just doing them once a week? So I've slowly I started going back to doing the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, which has, and they have other classes as well, like wrestling, like the Olympic style wrestling you do, a bit of kickboxing. And then I also started learning saxophone again, just saying I'd always regretted quitting as a kid. So I was like, sod it, just do it, which was partly spurred on by an audiobook I was listening to, written by Aubrey Marcus, who does a podcast that I listen to. But also going back to that with the jiu-jitsu, I think I had to refresh, because I had tried starting it a couple of times, But I think I got that being too like goal orientated and worrying about being good at it. Whereas I think it's the process is the thing. And I think all of these things to me, I think you have to rephrase I'm not necessarily doing it to get better. It's like an exercise in fear. Because you don't like, your ego doesn't like doing new things. It's like, you have to like, there's like that pain barrier, just being a bit shit and feeling a bit awkward. And I think there's something really I think there's a skill in being comfortable being a beginner. So I think you should always just be a beginner at something.
Do you think there's like a hidden fear, with peers? Like, when you go to a new club or something and you think like, you're shit, you've never done it before. But there's that like, oh, there's other people around me and they're so much better than me. I don't want to do it, or they get intimidated by it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think ego always.
And I love that you're doing old childhood things as well. Because when I was younger, I wanted to play violin, like spur of the moment. I was like, I want to play violin, and I wanted to play drums. And my parents were very supportive, and they were like, yeah, we'll get you that stuff. And I had a little drum set, and I just gave up on it, and it was a shame. And even jiu-jitsu, I started jiu-jitsu. First ever class I was there, I tripped up on a mat and broke my arm.
Oh yeah, I remember your dad saying about that.
so yeah, I broke my arm on my first jiu-jitsu class on the warm-up.
Yeah.
And, that kind of put me off it.
Nice.
But I think it's one of those things that if you keep yourself active, especially mentally, and like being open-minded to things, because I've met a few people now, and especially like being the ages we are, like in the mid-20s, I think it's a really delicate and sensitive time. Like in our life, because there's some people that are, doing traveling and learning more about themselves, and then there's some people like complete other spectrum where they're like, I'm just settling down, having kids, they're saving for mortgages, and it's like, it's one of those weird decades where you can go both ways. You can go, starting a family and saving for a house, or using your time and money to explore the world while you're in your like, in a prime of some sort. Yeah,
it's all the old school and the new school sort of coming into play. I feel like more and more, which I think is great. People are becoming more and more entrepreneurial, it seems to me, and sort of going against that classical 9 to 5 paradigm, which I think's can only be a positive thing.
I think there's always been entrepreneurs, but definitely like since the late 90s, the whole internet, when that all popped around.
Yeah, that's made it a lot more possible.
Yeah, it's made it a lot more, what's the word, not friendly? Easily accessible.
Accessible, yeah. You can make a living
from just sitting in your room.
If you love knitting, you can make a YouTube show about knitting, and then
while you're
you
doing
can make
that,
a good
sell
living.
it on Etsy.
Yeah, exactly. You could never have thought of doing that before.
So
I think that's great.
What's the most rewarding thing, with jiu-jitsu? Is that you taking a lot of inspiration? I know we both watch Joe Rogan, we watch a lot of other podcasts, and I think that's also.
I think that's what spurred me on to try it, actually. And then I sort of looked into it, and I was like, this one thing. And then I tried it, and I was like, I think I was part of. I tried it, and I was like, damn, I wish I'd started this years ago, because it's my sort of thing. And I think it was part of that with saxophone as well. I was annoyed because I was in my head. I was thinking, damn, if I'd carried on till this age from when I was 11, I would be amazing right now. You go, oh, that's so annoying. And there's like a weird part of you doesn't want to start and enjoy it, and then think, oh man, I would have enjoyed carrying on. But that's such a dumb way of thinking. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. I think also our biggest problem right now, like in our generation, is attention span. And it's like, from the friends that we know, I know like memes are like the big thing. And even like watching 15 seconds is like, yeah, that's too long, 5 seconds. So like when you say like, oh, let's watch like a 3-hour podcast, it's like, yeah, too long. I was with a friend of mine and I was like, dude, just watch a film. He's like, that's way too long. Like, too long to watch a film?
Yeah.
People, like, if you watch old films, like my parents watch loads of like old 40s, 50s, 60s films. And it just takes so long until you get to some action. But it was just that whole build up, and I think that comes across into all our lives in terms like digitally, like Tinder. This whole swipe, like we have no patience to meet people properly. Everything has to be now, and it's good and bad. You know, I think it's dangerous because we don't give people a lot of opportunity. Yeah. And it's very ruthless. I think
it's so many things. It's self-awareness is the crucial thing, isn't it? But I love, as you know, I love crushing podcasts. But often but I like the audiobooks as well. But then I'll often get book recommendations from podcasts. But one of them I was put onto recently was called Deep Work by Cal Newport. And it did it did make you think, like so much in the sort of information economy, a lot of producing valuable things is relying on long periods of uninterrupted deep work, and sort of office spaces or modern technology sort of train the brain to only ever stay in doing sort of shallow work because you get distracted all the time. And even if you're doing something and you go, oh, I'll just check Facebook or I'll just check my email, and then you go back to it, you can never get into that deep work state because there's a sort of attention residue, he calls it. So you have to, but being mindful of that, I then thought about it, and I've realised it's not something I've ever sort of mastered. I just get constantly distracted and find it. So I'm making an effort to have just sort of set aside periods. I'll put 90 minutes on a timer and just turn everything off. And even if I sit there and just looking at the screen, just practice being bored for a little while and then try and do the work. But don't, because otherwise you're rewarding your brain all the time. But your brain goes, every time I'm distracted, I'll look at Facebook or etc. and I'll get a little dopamine hit because I'll find, and you're rewarding your brain for being distracting itself all the time.
I had a very similar thing. It's like, you wouldn't believe how many times I've closed Facebook, open up a new tab, and open Facebook again.
Yeah,
it's mad. But I think also like being distracted so easily is dangerous, especially when you're trying to run your own business. Because I find it hard. I don't utilize the whole day. You know, I'll just be, you know, it's just, I'll try to get on to some work, then after half an hour, I'm going to take a little bit of break, you put a YouTube video on, and by the time you watch a YouTube video, you're already an hour spent watching videos, you just get into this.
Yeah.
And you're like, I'm already out the loop. So I'm trying to now, you know, work away from home. And that's another thing, that's a whole nother discussion. It's just working out of your comfort zone. Just being outside the house and keeping that distance between work and home.
Well, he talks about sort of different ways of doing that, but that can be one way. You go somewhere. He was talking about J.K. Rowling when she was writing her last book. She was at home. She just got distracted all the time. So she was like, she just went and just booked in a hotel and just to write it, because there's a sort of, then there's like an investment. You've like invested in that. For a reason. Yeah. But I think, but also partly just having a time of day that you always do it, and just having that routine. You'll have like an hour's deep work in the morning. Such annoying. I hate not being a morning person. It's so annoying because like it's the perfect time to just get up, do your stuff, get on with some work, and then you're like, cool, I've crushed some work this morning. You know, I can get on. But like, my brain just doesn't work till like past midday.
You can train yourself in that. I think. It's like, I know if I have like a long night, like I was working last night until 3, but then I had to be up this morning at 8. But if no matter how much sleep, if I know I have to be up, I'll get up right ready for work, jump in the shower. It might make, you know, I might be tired, but as soon as I grab a train, you know, if I have to go to London or anything, I get from the train. I'm like, right, I'm here, I'm good to go. But on a normal day, I can easily sleep into 11 or noon.
Yeah.
And then still be like, oh,
yeah, it's fine. It depends what I'm doing, I suppose. I think writing's the worst, because I've recently signed up to to an online course, partly just to sort of practice this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, practice sort of deep work.
Amazing.
But all through uni as well. Something about writing that I find. I think I've so trained my brain to get distracted by it. I think there's a lot. I don't know, there's a lot of things going on. Like procrastinating. It's just something I want to get over. But a lot of the procrastination as well, sort of perfectionism. With writing, you just write something and it's shit, and then you rewrite it and then you rewrite it. But it's getting my brain to be okay with writing shit first time round.
Yeah, it's like, have you ever taken? I remember doing dissertation at my student accommodations. Everyone's on Adderall, like that.
Oh yeah.
And then I remember.
Yeah, modafinil.
Yeah, I tried it once. Like everyone was doing this thing, and they're like, "Yeah, it just helps you write, stay awake." At that time, you're like 3 weeks into dissertation. Everyone is shattered, and it's like, right, gotta keep doing this. You write, and you think this is absolute gold. Like this is. This is A star, the best work I've ever written, and the next morning you read it and you're like, what a load of shit did I just write? It's absolute nonsense.
Yeah.
It just gives you this false image. But,
that's right. I just procrastinate for so long until the pressure was so much. I was like, I just have to write it, and I'd stay up for 2 days in a row and just do it. But I never did my best work though, because I just had to get it in the time and send it off, and then I'll think to myself, God, if I had another week to edit that, I could make it really good. But I just had to get something in.
I've always been like that. I always thought that I worked good under pressure, and that's because of my procrastication.
Yeah, it's not that you work good under pressure; it's that you only work under pressure.
I remember being like, I remember they'll give us that's the thing, because at Central St. Martin's they'll give you 2 week deadlines. You got you got a 2 week project. Get it done. With my university, London College of Communication, it was, you got 2.5 months to do it. I was like, mate, I'm gonna chill for 2 months.
Yeah.
And then you crack it for the last few weeks. I got half decent grades, but thinking I could have, if I actually utilised that whole time.
How much did you beat yourself up about that? Would you be really annoyed at yourself?
Probably not. I tell you what, I got to admit, I was one of those lucky ones that I did pretty good, in each one, and that was purely because I was like, right, just quick ideas, get it done, do it.
Yeah.
My problem that when I was at university was, they always wanted you to get a bunch of ideas and develop each one and then pick it. But I knew from the I knew. I had a good clear image of what I wanted, and I just did it. And then it was like, no, you have to do 5 ideas, and so then when I actually came to, having the last 2 weeks to do a project, I literally just thought of an idea and did it, and it worked out in the end. But in practice, I should have started developing ideas, because especially the industry I'm in, directing, you need to explore a lot of different avenues before you commit to something, especially when there's a lot of money involved. Storyboarding and things.
Yeah. That's referred to as Parkinson's law.
Is that what it's called?
Yeah, Parkinson's law. That the amount of time allocated to achieve a task is the amount of time it will take.
I love deadlines.
So, I think probably a good way of, if you want to get something done, just sort of create a situation in which you have to.
That's another thing. I saw something. Oh no, it was a podcast. It was actually a podcast from Matt Devilla, and it was about the sense of urgency. And it was talking about that, you don't make any good progress unless you have that sense of urgency. Like if you're unemployed, if you're employed, you've got a mundane job and you're paying the bills, everything's kind of flowing, but you want to get something better. But you're thinking, but if I quit now, I'll be in trouble, or everything's comfortable. But it's not until you push yourself into that outside of that comfort zone and think, right, I'm going to quit my job and now I've got to find something.
Yeah, and that first thing, I was so wary of that, because I know people just get into a 9 to 5, and then all of a sudden, sort of 5 years has gone by and you haven't done what you wanted. It's so easy to slip into that.
I mean, my website took 2 years. 2 years to produce, and that was just because I was comfy. I was like, I got regular clients, I don't need to get any more. I'm just chilling it. And then you're thinking,
but then sometimes things just take time as well. Things take time to sort of grow organically as well, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. I think there is getting a company going, and sometimes it just takes time, and just sort of let it be okay with that.
It is good breathing room. I had a buddy of mine when he was doing driving lessons. I was doing maybe 4 hours a week. I just wanted to crack it out. And even now I felt it was not a lot of time, 4 hours. But he was doing maybe 1 hour a week. And I was like, dude, why don't you do more? He's like, nah, I'm just doing 1 hour a week, and then gradually I'll get to it. And I think, I don't know if he became a better driver of it or not, but sometimes it works. Yeah, but what was this? You said you brought a book. What was this?
Oh,
the book that you brought?
Well, yeah, Tim Ferriss' book, which is called A Tribe of Mentors, which is short life advice from the best in the world. But do you listen to Tim Ferriss's podcast?
No, I don't.
He's one of the podcast giants. But he this little passage is quite relevant. The older I get, the more time I spend as a percentage of each day on crafting better questions. In my experience, going from ×1 to ×10, from ×10 to ×100, from ×100 to when Lady Luck really smiles, ×1,000 returns in various areas, has been a product of better questions. John Dooley's dictum of "a problem well put is half solved" applies. Life punishes the vague wish and rewards the specific ask. After all, conscious thinking is largely asking and answering questions in your own head. If you want confusion and heartache, ask vague questions. If you want uncommon clarity and results, ask uncommonly clear questions.
Ooh.
Ooh. But I think that is... I think there's a lot of wisdom in that. But this book, he goes around and interviews just loads of variety of sort of world-class performers in certain things. But he has a set of questions that he asks them all.
Oh, yeah. Is there any questions there?
I'm trying to think. I could find the list.
It's interesting. I'm always open to finding new podcasts. There's so many interesting people, and I think with the ease of access that we have now, it's so great to meet new people, especially also in video production. Just like the amount of stories and documentaries that are being made of people that have just the most insane, amazing stories. You just think like, God, imagine if they had that 100 years ago. What kind of stories you'd get back there?
It's such a cool medium. I'm really sort of excited about it. It's been, I think it's it's positively influenced my life a lot. Listening to them, but I feel like we've almost come full circle, and we've gone back to sitting around the campfire, telling stories with the tribe of the woolly mammoth that got away. It's we've sort of come full circle.
But we can hear back and share that story, and I think that's what's really good.
Storytelling.
I really relate to a lot of the comedians that we both follow, like Joe Rogan, Bill Burr, Tom Segura, Bert Kreischer. There's a lot of people that I've also developed from, from Jim Norton to Kurt Metzger. I love their friend group, and I love the stories they say, and also Bill Burr's advice uncle or whatever, agony aunt section on his podcast. I don't know if you've watched too many of his.
Bill Burr doesn't Bill Burr, he doesn't have guests on, does he?
He rarely has guests. It's mainly just him.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty cool. It feels like a one-on-one session. It's like sitting in a room with him. But the advice stuff that he says is just hilarious. I think I've grown so much just from hearing him, and then just how blunt they are. If you're being a dick, you're just sort yourself out. It's all about being honest with yourself. And I think I've become a much better person and more self-aware about it. Because sometimes people don't want to tell you hey, chill the hell out, mate.
Yeah, I think it's important as well. I think it's really helpful when there's sort of successful people you admire come on and tell you tell you like when they've had a shit time, or like when they struggle with things, and you kind of go, oh, okay, I guess that's okay as well. I think there's something important about people sharing that, because it's easy to think some people just have it easy all the time, but everyone struggles, don't they?
Especially when you see people that are very flamboyant with what they have, flexing. I think that's also a warped perspective, because especially with
the social media age.
Oh my God.
It's you're just getting the highlight reel, aren't you? And it's easy to think envious thoughts.
Like, oh, they've got a nice car. How did they get that? And it's like, you don't know their story.
No.
And I think that's also could be challenging as well, because people get really insecure about stuff. They're like, oh, but this person is so successful, I'm not successful. It's like, well, first of all, think about everyone has different progress rates.
Yeah.
And I just think
comparing yourself to others is always going to be a slippery slope.
Yeah, it's good to have competition. But
inspiration. Yeah, but not jealousy.
Don't go crazy about it. I think I think where I am about it is that I'm more not jealous. I think envious is the bad way about it. I'm really inspired by people that have more experiences. So like the way that you do things, rather than buying materialistic things, I'm buying buying cars or nice things. It's, oh, I did a really cool trip abroad, or I went somewhere new, I went and saw this. And at the end of the day, when you're old, those materialistic things don't go anywhere. They're just sitting there. But experiences are like the biggest value in your life.
Mm. Yeah, and that's kind of, because I'd always sort of been, I was younger, like, oh, money doesn't matter and whatever, but I kind of soon realised that I'm kind of an experience junkie. I realised that having no money is harder to do fun things. Yeah. you kind of go, oh, let's do that thing. You go, I can't afford it. Let's just sit at home. So I'm not naturally money driven, but I've sort of had to. I'm sort of trying to make it a focus, because I'm not naturally, because I think it sort of set me up for more. Yeah.
What has been your biggest experience that's changed you mentally, like your perspective of life, or someone that you've met? Is there anything that within, let's say, the last few years that's kind of really stuck with you?
God, it's an interesting question. Actually, I mean, in terms of massive perspective shifts that have been helpful, actually, some MDMA experiences are very. I think that has made me a better person, I think.
Is that promoting like being compassionate, or like?
Yeah, because you have such a sort of wave of empathy and love that you kind of go, wow, like, oh, being nice to people feels better. And you go, oh, maybe I should just do a bit more of that in everyday life anyway. You don't have to go around hugging people and rubbing them, but you can take away little lessons.
Yeah. Have you ever seen, there's a game called We Happy Few? I don't know if you heard about it. But it's a game about this. There's a town that's like, everyone is drugged up and they see things in beauty and happiness and colour. But if you're not on the drug, it's the worst experience of your life.
Yeah.
It's like there's just a mad, dark age.
But my most recent going to bloody drugs again. But I think psychedelics are very powerful and positive if you use them, treat them with respect. But my recent magic mushroom experiences have been very perspective shifting.
In what way?
And they've been, well, firstly I took two. First did a 2-gram dose, which is referred to as a sort of therapeutic dose, and then I took a 5-gram dose, which is almost like they call it a heroic or a spiritual dose. But the 2-gram dose was incredible. There was a sort of real sense of, in normal everyday life, you think you and nature and everything else are sort of these separate things. And when I took that, I mean, lots of different things happen. Like you listen to music, and music will have whole new layers of meaning you didn't see before. And then I went to the window and I looked outside, and it was a beautiful sunny day. Looked out across the pond, and all the colours, just like the saturation was just turned up times 10.
Wow!
It was just beautiful. But then there was a real sense of like connectedness with nature. Like a butterfly would go past, and you'd go, "Oh, I am that." Like we're made of the same thing. We are both nature in this sort of cycle, which was interesting.
That calm down, like when you're like, "Oh, I see things for how they are." Do you feel sad about that?
No, it's not like, it's not like some other. Like there's no come down. I felt better afterwards than I did before. Best way I could describe, but it wasn't like oh, I saw things like that, and then I came back to the real world and saw things how they really are. It was sort of the opposite. It was like I'd been. The way I was seeing things before was not accurate. It's like I'd been shown. It was like a revealed truth that you take with you. It was like a new perspective. It was like there felt more truth in that than there did in the way I was looking at things before.
Do you think that these sort of like hallucinogenics can be really beneficial to people who have like really severe depression? People that are so clouded that they can't see not even what is normal, but like I'm just imagining people that are just so in that world that maybe that these sort of treatments could really help.
Well, yeah, and there seems to be a lot of new research coming out and just showing that they're actually been amazingly effective in treating depression. Wow. I think that's that sort of perspective shift. I think probably has a lot to do with that. There's a lot of new research as well. Like MDMA has just passed through stage 2 trials in the US.
Oh, really?
For treating people with treating a lot of people with PTSD, come back from war zones, because it allows them to, like with assisted psychotherapy, like the two together, it allows them to talk about those traumatic experiences, but while feeling happy. So it allows them to sort of talk about them without bringing up the painful experience, and that's proving really effective.
That's awesome.
And there are other things like ibogaine. It's another very powerful hallucinogenic, but that seems to be, that is a really high success rate in treating people with addiction, like heroin addiction, and you name it. So I think there's some really promising research. People are starting to get over this sort of moral panic that was brought about in the 60s about it.
It's all education. It's all what you've been fed, or first-hand research. I'm quite liberal on my thoughts on drugs. I think it's all about being well educated, knowing what's good, and also anything that's produced well will give good results. And the things that you get off the streets, like any other sort of drugs, Class A drugs that are mixed in with rat poisons and stuff like that. Of course, you're going to get bad results.
Exactly.
But if you get something that's actually made for what it's intended for, then you're going to get, you can learn how to control that. Yeah.
I think it was sort of first brought to my attention. I read a book called Good Cop, Bad War. I forget the author's name. But yeah, he was an undercover drug in the undercover drug police in the UK for years, and he just saw this war on drug. It just makes things work. Them being illegal makes things worse, but it doesn't keeping them. I think all drugs are legal, even the bad ones. It just doesn't stand up to any reasoned debate.
Yeah,
because like so much of the harm that's done. One, a lot of the, like you're saying, so many of the deaths and issues are because people there are things that are in them that weren't supposed to be in them. So that's a lot of it. And also, by making them illegal, you're actually making it so you can't regulate them. If you legalise them, you could then highly regulate them and make it safer. And also, you can't. By making it illegal, you're creating this criminal underworld. And if
it's like a prohibition, really.
Yeah, it is prohibition, and that's what this guy I'm talking about started a sort of campaign, and it's called Law Enforcement Against Prohibition. And it's funny, I watched a documentary, and they used a lot of old footage from alcohol prohibition in the US, and they're going through it, and the parallels are just exactly the same. And it's funny, it's funny we can't sort of learn from that. But I think things will change, because I think our generation have got such a different view on it.
Yeah.
But I think
even in the UK, marijuana is now being used medically, which feels quite ancient, because other countries have been doing it for decades already.
Yeah.
But it's like their own slow progress in making those changes.
Yeah. But we're starting to have.
I'm glad we're moving forward.
Yeah, able to have grown-up conversations about it.
Yeah, like I know you're looking at what I'm doing here. Basically, I've made for people that can't see, obviously, because there's no camera. There's
yeah.
I made pellet holders for air guns, and they're made out of old rubber boot. And I'm basically fondling this while we're talking.
And I've been sort of curiously watching you. There's something sort of weirdly therapeutic about it. I think we should always have a slice of boot to play with. A little.
Yeah, but what was going back is that Unilad have created that documentary, and one of the recent episodes about something called Spice, and it's like basically some intense drug, like similar to like bath salts, just basically knocks you out.
Yeah, people used to smoke that when I was in Australia.
Oh wow,
it's like synthetic cannabis, isn't it?
It's mad. And why are you like not even? It's not natural at all. It's just insane. Like that's gonna kill you. And there's been like so many people that are overdosing and that sort of stuff.
Yeah,
but that's what happens. You know, it's like alcohol. Like we have the freedom to get something that's 2%, 3%, 4%, or you can go 35% or more.
Yeah.
You know, you can choose what you want. It's the same when you go to countries that
accurate information.
You know, like in Amsterdam, if you go to marijuana shops, they have that you can choose. What do you want? Like, do you want something that makes you a bit more relaxed, something mellow, or something that makes you a bit more productive? There's so many different strains and strengths.
Yeah.
Imagine if you can get that. So when people that have never tried particular drugs before and they get it off some dodgy dealer, they can get it in a world of something they never even anticipated, because they have no idea what it is. Imagine if you wanted to buy, I'm going to go get some alcohol, and someone gives you some bootleg moonshine that's 120%, and it basically makes you blind. Yeah. They go like, this person died. And it's like, well, yeah, of course, they had no idea what they got.
Yeah. Often it seems to change laws, it requires convincing middle-class parents so much of the time. Yeah. But I think, and there is that knee-jerk reaction to, I want to protect my children, keep it illegal. But it's far easier for kids to get marijuana or any drug than alcohol, because drug dealers don't ask for ID.
No. Like, how much do you want? All right.
Yeah, cool. Done.
Yeah, I don't know.
But going back to the profound experiences, saying about the 5 gram dose of magic mushrooms, that was completely perspective shifting, because there was a moment where I experienced complete ego dissolution. So it's complete. So I sort of descended into a state of pure consciousness. So there was no sense of self or body or you, but there was. Sounds mad to describe, but it's a really profound realization that consciousness can exist outside the sense of self, the ego. You can't imagine that being possible. But it is. But I think after that, there's a certain amount of sort of just underlying existential angst that just disappeared, because it was almost like I'd practiced dying.
It's honestly, that's what I was just thinking. I was thinking like it just feels like you're a brain, and you're detached from your body's own insecurities and stuff like that, and it's like you're just in this nether.
Because you think the sense of you is all there is. There's you, and if you didn't have that, that's death. But there was, there was a sense of, I think, a sense of existing, but there was no sense of self. But it was like, it's like you practice dying, but it was actually quite pleasant. So it's sort of, sort of dissipated a bit of that fear.
And how long did that last?
I mean, till now, yeah.
I mean, now, how long is that? 5 milligrams?
Oh,
5 grams even.
Yeah, it was funny. It was really odd. It took to like fully kick in that time. It took like 3 or 4 hours. But I don't think it always does. But before then, I just felt kind of high, and I was just socialising and mucking about. It was really odd. I was just laughing. I was expecting this like profound experience, and nothing had happened after like 3 or 4 hours. And then I went downstairs. Everyone went out. I went into the bathroom. It's quite a long description.
I'm totally in this.
Okay, so I just went to the bathroom. And I was like, oh, it's weird. I haven't had this sort of profound experience like I had before. And then it was like last time when I'd had the 2 grams, that was more of a spiritual experience than this time. It was weird. And then I had a realisation like, oh, perhaps more isn't always better. It was like this weird feeling of I was like, brain was teaching me a lesson. I was like, okay, fair enough. And I went to leave, and I caught the mirror out the corner of my eye, and I stopped, and I had this sense. I thought to myself, right, I could probably go back outside now, and it would just have been like a fun afternoon, or I can have a bit of courage and turn and look at this mirror, and then have this full mystical experience. And I was like, all right, let's go. Sort of turn round to the mirror, put my hand on the sink, and then, wow, I can't really I just stared at myself in the mirror and looked at my eyes, and my face it's really hard to describe. My face just changed, but it was sort of beautiful in a weird, like a picture of the cosmos is beautiful. It was like my face was made up of, when you see like pictures of the cosmos.
Yeah.
It was weird. It was like my face was arranged like that. So it was the structure of my face, but it wasn't my face, and I no longer felt like me. I felt like I'm the universe observing itself. And I was just like, whoa, okay. And I was like, right, okay. And I had this, because you got to sort of, you don't want to fight it. You got to just surrender to the experience. I was like, okay, right, surrender. And then I sort of went down onto my knees and just like put my head on my arms. And then that was when I just descended into that state of pure consciousness.
While in the bathroom?
Yeah, while in the bathroom. It was, amazing. Yeah.
How long were you in that state for?
I don't know. It's hard to tell. I didn't really look at the watch. And then I would sort of come, slowly. I remember sort of remembering who I was again. And then but then the trip lasts, you're sort of about halfway through by that point, and then there was a lot of other things, interesting realisations and things that happen after that. And the whole process is sort of about 8 hours.
Wow.
But
that's
yeah, very,
amazing.
very, very profound, interesting.
Level 10 grams.
Oh yeah, no. But it's one of those, like the 2 grams feels like it's like a really good therapy session, and it's something like you'd want, you'd like to do, be sort of good for your psyche doing that every so often. But that sort of 5 gram dose, you're like, okay, maybe once a year.
Yeah.
It's like a big thing.
Do you think that's something that people can abuse? That these sort of drugs people abuse?
Yeah, people abuse everything, but it's non-addictive. But I mean, I don't know, but I know certainly people. I'm sure people have and do. But that's real. I don't know what would trigger you to do that. Some real just needing to escape, or but it's not addictive. Like, oh, I need some more. But it's, can be a useful tool, I think.
That's bold.
If you treat it with respect. But the setting's so important as well.
Yeah.
You have to be in a sort of comfortable, safe environment. Yeah, exactly. You can have a really bad time if you're in an environment you don't feel comfortable in.
Yeah. Damn.
It's
the first time you told me that full story, to be honest.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I've not told you.
I remember like, I'll tell you later.
Oh, I never did.
No, that's
so
cool,
yeah, but there's a good description in Michael Pollan. I think he's sort of a famous journalist, but he was in his 60s, and he was writing about this sort of new research that people are doing on psychedelics. There seems to be a bit of a renaissance, so he was experiencing it, but then he sort of listened to people's descriptions so much that he got so curious. He's like, right, I need to experience this firsthand, and he's written a whole book about all his experiences.
Oh, wow.
But he took a 4-gram dose, I think, and experienced that ego death, and he writes about it quite eloquently. It's worth a read.
I wonder if it's like people film themselves doing that sort of stuff.
Yeah, people do.
Would you watch that back? If
Definitely people do. Oh, it's hard with that though, because you might be, if you're skeptical, you might like watching someone. They might look a bit mad doing it, because it's
so
like your internal experience might actually be really valid and useful. But if you're sort of behaving outside the paradigms of what you expect people to, it might put you off a bit.
Yeah,
but I don't know. I've not watched.
You gotta be. It's not. What's the word? Can't be insecure about if you want to do stuff like that.
Yeah,
that goes into being comfortable in where you're at.
Yeah, I think it's just you need to, set your intention. Like you want to, you have to sort of, like if you're having a bad experience, like something's a bit uncomfortable, you want to sort of go towards it and say, okay, like why are you in my head? Be curious and go towards it, rather than if you start fighting it, that's when you're gonna have a bad time, because you can't. You just have to. It's like a feeling of surrender.
Yeah.
That's where sort of yoga's really. So Joe Rogan was talking about that, and he's wondering when yoga was developed, they probably used a lot of. Well, they may have like psychedelics, or hash may have been involved, because there is a lot of yoga. It's so it's sort of, you can't fight it. You'll be really uncomfortable at times, but you've just got to surrender to the discomfort. You can't like fight it and be like, you just have to go like and just hold the position and I think.
How long is an average? I haven't done yoga. How long is like an average hold? Someone get you to do a position.
Oh, I don't know. It depends what sort of class you do. There's different styles. Some of it's a lot more flowing. It's like each movement is like one breath, and it's very very tied to breathing. It's sort of quite meditative. But the one I do is hot yoga strength class, it's called. So there's a lot more sort of static holds, and your muscles start shaking, and you're like, ah.
What if you fart? Because that's the only thing. Is like, I know if I do one class, I'll fart in the middle of the thing, and I'll be like, yeah, I won't see any of you guys later.
Yeah, people do.
I won't be here again.
Yeah, I mean, I've not experienced anyone doing it, but they must do. You get close at times, but that's part of the challenge.
You're turtling.
Yeah, just some mean sphincter clenching.
But then, could you imagine like what you're thinking? You're trying to relax, but you're thinking, "Oh man, I got a creeper coming up."
Yeah, well, he's not. Yeah, I don't think relax is really the word.
Is it about relaxing? Is it about being like relaxed, or is it trying to?
Because there are two. Because people tend to think of yoga as just stretching, but a lot of it's being of muscular strength as well. It's like holding positions, and it really gets those little balancing muscles, little connective tissues that don't get, and it puts your body in balance. So it's not just, I mean, there is stretching as well, but it's strength and stretching. It's not just doing hamstring. You think, I'll just do an hour of hamstring stretching. But yeah, when you are stretching into things, the breath is, there's a sort of real, like, you sort of breathe in, breathe out, and just let it go. Because so much of flexibility is your nerves more than your actual well, no, it's often your muscles could probably get in the position, but your nerves are trying to protect your muscles from getting torn. So you'll go to stretch, and your nerves will send signals and go and like lock up the muscle, and that's why you relax and ease into it, and your nerves allow you to get a little bit further.
Especially and hot yoga is way more, lets you do that bit more freer.
Yeah, I think it definitely helps having a hot core. You can definitely get more flexible.
Nice.
Yeah, decent. Geezer, diamond geezer. So, how long should we say? Should we say an hour, or I don't know? What do you think's the optimal time?
I don't know. I think we're doing. I'm zooming out on this.
So I think we started at 7 because I looked at the clock and said, "Blimey, how did it get to 7?"
Where are we at? If I do the old. Yes.
Yes. Thank you for listening.
Well, so thank you for listening on the first ever try.
Yes, our first experimenting conversations.
Until next time.
Until next time.